Well, we have an episode called Bickerstaff and Altman. I would have everybody go and check it out. We have been saying, I think from the beginning, that Altman has always been probably the biggest reason why this Cavaliers team has had the turnaround that they've had. We've got to credit Altman 100%. But he found his coach in JB Bickerstaff. The minute he chose JB to take over this team, I think you and I breathed a big sigh of relief. We could see that this guy was the right man for the job. Especially in today's NBA, you need a person who can really speak the player's language. Former players are ideal. Bickerstaff, he's meant to be an NBA head coach. I'm so enamored with him and the coaching staff that he's built over the last few years. So yes, my immediate answer would be the real reason why we are having the success we're having, why we are 5-1, why we have rallied in 2 of those games in OT and won those games and had several fourth quarter comeback wins. It's this coaching staff. It's the culture that they've created here in Cleveland. That no-quit culture. That next man up culture. That idea that for the love of the game, we're going to make it about the game. And we're going to come in here every day and we're going to learn to play with each other. And we're going to appreciate that. I haven't witnessed a team enjoy playing with each other this much in a long time. Even in the years when LeBron had teams where they all had fun, yeah, it's because they were a superstar team and they were built for that purpose. So of course, pile around, have a good time. But these guys are all young, out of college, out of high school, coming together. They just have no ego in the game. And if they do, you barely see that it's there. And we credit so much of why the Bulls and the Lakers through the years were able to be cohesive and keep the egos in check. That the teams had kind of the right culture, the right mentality to win. We gave a lot of that credit to Phil Jackson. I think you just don't hear much anymore how coaches keep that consistency for the players and make it more possible for these games to have better outcomes simply from the work that they put in and then the way they're able to rally the troops when they need to. Bickerstaff, to me, is that type of coach where he's got the shoulder and the ear of every player on this team. And when he speaks, they listen. When Papa Bear is upset, they're upset too. I know you're going to speak to that. It's pretty amazing to me that he can get upset or even just have a look in a certain way. And these guys are right there to do what he asks. Again, he's created the perfect culture of winning.
I think that he and Altman have worked so well together. I know that you and I were very much relieved when John Beilein was no longer the coach of this team. And I think all the players were as well. And JB was brought here to help Beilein out. And he really got the job because he was more qualified, but also because he had a rapport with the players. Most notably, he had a rapport with the player, Kevin Love, because he had worked with him in Minnesota and they got along really well. And Love has had his ups and downs, but the success that Love had last year and the success he's having this year, I think is because of the communication that JB has with his players. He is able to communicate so well the expectations of what it means to be a Cleveland Cavalier. And all of those guys understand that if they're not playing in the fourth quarter for some reason, it's not a personal slight. He goes with the hot hand. During this stretch, we talked about it earlier, Mobley was the highest scorer against the Magic. LeVert and Mitchell were super successful against the Celtics. And then with the Knicks, you had, as I just mentioned, Love scoring 29 off the bench. Those are all the players having that success. But if you don't have a head coach who is clearly communicating what the expectations are of each possession, of each quarter, each half, it doesn't work. It's just all individuals going out there. And I think that he is a leader that understands how he needs to lead, especially with this team. And that's such a rare thing to have in a coach, because they tend to try to dictate everything in the sense of my way or the highway. And I think that JB he is probably stern, but he lets you know why he's stern in certain circumstances, and then will transition and like what you said, he bends the ear and talks to the guys when he needs to. You all can tell Adam and I are very pleased with everything that JB has done throughout his tenure.
Just the fact that they had the turnaround that they had last year, the 20-plus game turnaround from the season before. And I know you and I have really believed in this team since he's taken over the reins, and feel that they should have been a better team even 3 years ago. He's had to come up with different lineups, 9 in, 9 out, worked with the bottom of the bench at times because every single starter was out with injury. He's had a whole host of people traded and moved around over the last few years. And he's even had some turmoil in the locker room in Kevin Porter Jr., whether or not they could kind of keep the dynamic, the team chemistry together or not after that situation. From the beginning, as I said, we've been excited about him, and just these last 3 games especially. And really, the 6 games overall, but these last 3 because that's what we were covering today. Just the patience that he has on the sideline to not choke the refs out. I mean, it's insane, the calls that he has to stand there and witness night in and night out. It's like watching his players get murdered in front of him, and there's nothing he can do about it. I mean, he's already had a player have an eye gouged out and blood all over the floor from that. He's seen players get knocked down on the ground and no calls. I'm just surprised he doesn't have a technical every game so far this year.